I produced a song for an artist I've never met that now has over 9 million views on TikTok and over 300,000 streams on Spotify about a McDonald's in the Pentagon featuring an impression of Parappa the Rapper. What the fuck? McDonald's in the Pentagon is a song by Silly Stu that I had the opportunity to produce the instrumental for. As for how that came to be, I'm a comedy musician and also a huge Pikmin nerd, so it was only a matter of time before the almighty algo put Silly Stu in my social media feeds. So I had been following Stu for a few months on X and TikTok, and I was a huge fan. I really admire Stu's ability to write equally comedic and emotionally rich songs. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely check out the song about deleting your grandmother's me after she dies. So on X, Stu had made a post with the original acoustic ukulele version of McDonald's in the Pentagon, and on the post it asked if someone was interested in collabing to make a full ska arrangement for the song. And I think I was at the gym or something when I saw the post, and I was like, I could do that. So I put on my checkered Vans and got to work on the instrumental you all know in the final song. I actually put on my checkered Vans for this video to get in the spirit of the I'll worry about that later. Anyway, let's get into the song. So before diving into the project session, I'll go over the chord progression of the song. So this just follows exactly what Stu made in the original acoustic version. So for what I'll call the A sections or the verses, the chord progression is just G, B flat, C, C minor over E flat to D. So for any of you theory nerds out there, that'd be a 1, flat major 3, 4, minor 4, 5 progression.
Music theory.
And then for the B section or the bridge section, Stu modulated into the key of E flat major. And for that portion, it's just E flat, A flat to B flat. So again, for the theory nerds, just a 1, 4, 5 progression. All right, let's dive into the project file. All right, so this is the project file minus Stu's final vocals. I produce my music in Logic Pro, and you can see here that the BPM is set to 86.1144, which, fun fact, is the same Celsius reading of the McDonald's coffee that burnt Stella Liebeck's lap back in 1992. Anyway, so the first thing I actually did was I took Stu's vocal from the original acoustic demo, and then I used Logic's stem splitter to isolate the vocal. And then I kind of time warped it and chopped it up and moved it around so that I had something to build around. So if anything sounds a little jank with the vocals or a little artifacty, that's why.
There's a McDonald's in the Pentagon. I work at the McDonald's in the Pentagon.
So I think the first element that I added to this was actually my favorite element of this track, which was the bass line. And that was actually recorded on this. Jesus. And that was actually recorded on this. This is my Gretsch Jet Junior 2, I believe is the model. And then as for our signal chain, it looks like I just added Logic's stock bass plugin, and I went to this preset called Classic Comp. Looks like I did a low cut somewhere around 62 hertz. Added a compressor, auto release, 15 milliseconds of attack. Probably just catching a couple transients, not really doing anything too crazy. And then after that, I threw the L1 limiter on just to, whoa, what the f is going on there? And then after that, I just threw on the L1 limiter just to catch, again, any sort of transients that might be popping out a little bit too hard. Usually I go a lot more in depth with kind of dialing in the tone or really fine-tuning things and tweaking things, but this was kind of intended to be a demo, so I kind of just threw on presets and plugins, and I only tweaked them until I was kind of like, yeah, that's good enough, like it's the idea across. But anyway, the bass sounds like this. And then for the B section, it's just straight eighth notes following the root of each chord. So the next element that I added was the offbeat clean guitars, and those are recorded on my Fender Stratocaster. I believe this is the Vintera series. Oh, also side note, I should note that I do all of my guitars DI because I live in a literal shoebox, so all of my guitar amps are in storage somewhere in my grandma's attic.
Hello? Anybody?
The offbeat guitar is kind of the most iconic element of the ska song. You know, that's the thing that kind of makes you want to do that like skank dance. What, did my light die? So for the signal chain on that, it looks like the first thing I added was an enveloper. For anyone who's not familiar with the enveloper, basically it helps you shape the attack and release of your sound. So it looks like on here, I kind of increased the attack to kind of give it that plucky sound, and I kind of pulled down the release to really kind of assist in the staccato feel. I can even kind of do it before and after here. Subtle. And then again, I'm pretty sure this is literally just the default Logic amp when you boot it up. I'm pretty sure I just turned the reverb off. Maybe I tweaked the EQ knob. I don't know. But again, I wasn't going crazy. This was all kind of for proof of concept. So I really wasn't going hard on the tone or anything here. So anyone who's familiar with bar chords or even the cowboy chord of F will recognize the shape that I used here. And it kind of just goes straight up the neck. And that all sounds like this. Then I think I nearly duplicated the exact same track, panned it to the other side, and then just did the same chords but voiced them with some lower strings using the full bar chord shapes. So all those together with the bass sounds like this. Feel my mutton chops starting to form. So then after recording the clean guitars, I decided to tackle the distorted guitars that come in during the B section. And for the signal chain, it looks like I just threw a compressor, pretty slow attack and pretty fast release. So really clipping the transients there, really not doing too much. And then that goes right into the amp simulator, which this is my dog right here. I love this preset. This finds its way into every single production that I make. Modern Rock 2 on the Logic guitar amp sim is my favorite. And it's just power chords. Anyone who plays electric guitar, I'm sure, has messed around with power chords. If not, definitely Google it. It's going to change your life. But that's just going from E flat to A flat to B flat. And it does that in eighth notes, so it sounds like this.
So much stress at the old Panda Express. So sick with us in your set. Our cooking standards straight from corporate.
And then for the walk up at the end, I have those same two guitars, along with all the other instruments for the outro. It's just walking up the same G, B flat, C, C minor, D progression. And it looks like the guitar on the right is just going up using power chords.
It's like you just dropped a check on McDonald's, not checking which one that you spend it on. Bitch, you hit the Pentagon.
And then I have the left guitar doing a little bit of a walk up here. But then I duplicated the track one more time to add a harmony to that line. And those two together sound like this. You can hear they're kind of sloppily done, honestly. Like, they're not perfectly in sync, which I think is kind of cool. It kind of gives it the feel of a real band, like it's not overly polished. So all those guitars together sound like this. And then with the full outro. So the next thing I added from this song was the drums, and most of these are from a contact library called the Luke Holland kit. The kick, the snare, the hi-hat, the toms, but I don't really love the cymbal sounds from this kit, so I actually ended up using the Logic stock kits to make those. And then one additional crash sample I found in my samples folder. So I usually go super hard with drums. I'll do a lot of dynamics processing, maybe some saturation, definitely some EQ. But again, it was super bare bones here, and plus the Luke Holland kit sounds amazing already, so usually I don't have to tweak it super duper hard anyway. So for the kick, it looks like I just have a little bit of a high shell. For the snare, looks like I have a little bit of a low cut. Hi-hat, I have nothing. Tom, I have a low cut somewhere around 100 hertz. Floor tom, nothing again. Oh, and the ride cymbal is Luke Holland as well, and again, nothing on that. Logic kit, just default. It looks like at the sample, I did a high cut around, let's see, somewhere around 600 hertz. I will note with the kick pattern, I really tried to emphasize Stu's vocal when it came to the line, not a bunch of spots for lunch. I think in the demo it's places for lunch, but I really wanted to hit with the not a bunch of places for lunch. So I'll play those two together real quick.
There's a McDonald's in the Pentagon. I work at the McDonald's in the Pentagon. Yeah, there's not a bunch of places for lunch. It's a killer gig back, flipping up the Big Macs.
And that pattern basically stays the same for the B section, except now we have a crash cymbal kind of doing a wash over the whole thing.
With us in your set, our cooking standards straight from corporate.
And then the second verse is exactly the same, where I had the drums emphasize the back half of the word important.
So discordant, but your work is so important. Working at the Pentagon.
But again, all super duper simple. And then finally we have the brass. So the brass section is made up of a trumpet, a bari sax, and a trombone. So the first thing I did was I got my trusty SSD so that I could compose with some brass samples. I actually have some pretty good contact libraries of some good brass sounds, but my SSD decided it needed a mental health day. So I actually went with the stock Logic brass. Again, my full intent that the version you guys heard was just a demo, so I really wasn't trying to be too picky. But honestly, I think the synthetic kind of nature of the brass sounds adds a little bit of charm to it, for sure. So for the first half of the hook, all the brass are actually in unison, and they're just jumping between a D and a C. I'll play it along. Jesus. I'll play it along with the clean guitars for a little bit of context. And then once we get to the last two chords, it looks like the trumpet is jumping between B flat and A. The trombone is doing that on a different octave. And then it looks like the bari sax is hitting a G and then going up to an A. And together, that all sounds like this. And then for the very outro section, we kind of have this walk-up sequence. And again, the trumpet and trombone are doing the same thing, but on different octaves. We're going from G, B flat, to C, to D, to E flat, Jesus, to D. And the bari sax hit in the harmony again is going B natural, D, E, G, F sharp. And actually, fun fact, the original outro, I had the final hit right on the word Pentagon, but Stu is super smart and opted to shift the audio file so that it hit a little bit after the word Pentagon to give it a little more of a Phibius and Fern feel. So this is what I sent over, and Stu was stoked on it and had me send the instrumental over. And then Stu recorded the updated vocals on it and posted it, and it just went viral. We actually had plans to make a fully mixed and mastered version with some newly recorded vocals and me tweaking the instrumental to really kind of give it that final polish. We might still do that. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, this is definitely a don't fix what ain't broken kind of situation, you know? And I think for me, a handful of years ago, I used to get so hyper concerned about tweaking every little detail until everything sounded exactly the way I wanted it. But I think this is like the perfect lesson and metaphorical symbol for me that it's more about the core idea than it is the fine tweaking and little bit of details. And you can still add those, and definitely I'm not discouraging or writing off being meticulous with your production or your mixing. Like, definitely do that. Like, you should have some level of quality control for sure. But at the end of the day, it's about the song itself. So don't let yourself get too hung up. Right at the outro too. You really gonna do me like that, bro? So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's listened to the song and streamed it or looked at it on socials. I'm super happy and super shocked that the song has had as much reach as it has, and I'm super inspired by seeing all the artwork and videos people are creating around the song. And it's super fun, and I'm super inspired to make more stuff in the future. I want to give a huge thanks to Silly Stu for putting out this version and writing such an incredible song. If you haven't already, definitely go follow Silly Stu. There's already been new songs coming out since this went viral because Stu is an absolute machine when it comes to songwriting, and they all kick ass. So TikTok X, do it all. I am putting this instrumental version up on streaming because a lot of people have been commenting, asking just for the instrumental so that they could either do covers or just do karaoke with it. So I'll make sure to link that in the description. And I also have Google Drive for all the stems of this project in case you guys want to check them out. And for anyone who's wondering, yes, we made $1 zillion on the song. No, we definitely didn't. I probably only have like $5 in my wallet or something, you know. Where's my wallet? Oh, you mother...